Hey everyone and welcome to Storytime. My name is Jake and today we are going to be looking at the subreddit r/maliciouscompliance, where people conform to the letter but not the spirit of a request. I just want to quickly mention before the video starts as well that I have another channel which does the Reddit stories but for shorter subreddits, like the funny messages ones like Tinder, white people Twitter, choosing beggars, stuff like that. So if you're interested in that stuff, then at the end of this video go into the description and click my other Reddit channel and just see what you like. But for now, let's sit back, relax and enjoy some malicious compliance. Golfer ruins course after blaming caddy for his poor performance. Gets wrecked by management. Not sure if this is the right sub for this story, but it was satisfying nonetheless. So, I work as a caddy at a prestigious golf course that prides itself on tradition. Now, in order to play this course, you need to be a member, or have a member reserve a time slot for you as an unaccompanied guest. Recently, I came into work and was informed I would be caddying for a pair of unaccompanied golfers. No big deal, right? Well, from the moment I introduced myself, I could tell that this was not going to be a pleasant experience. Golf rounds take approximately 3 hours for 2 players. One of the players seemed thankful to play the prestigious course, and the other player, we'll call A, informed me of how he has played many courses that rank higher than this in the world rankings. For me, I enjoy the job for what it is, being outside for hours at a time and getting to pick the brains of highly successful people, as well as enjoying helping people while they navigate through the tough course. When we were out on the first hole, A hit his second shot from the fairway onto the green, leaving a divot in the fairway and a ball mark on the green, both of which are my responsibility to fix. After I performed these duties and caught back up to my players, A was clearly infuriated that I had not given him a read on his putt yet. Being pressed for time and looking to work efficiently, I gave a read and he proceeded to miss his putt. Long story short, I got an earful about my lack of skills as a caddy and my laziness to not keep up with the players. I explained to A that my job, in order of importance, is 1. Keep the course in the same, if not better, shape as it was when we started our round. 2. To get the group around the course in a reasonable amount of time. And 3. Improve my players' score if possible. The third priority is where reading putts and giving correct yardages, we do not use laser distance measuring devices here, comes in. Fast forward to the next hole. He asks for another putt read, and although I gave a good read, he pushed his putt and missed the starting mark I pointed out to him. At this point, I was told how incompetent I was and that he should get a new caddy immediately. His partner has said nothing and has not complained about anything, and has shot a bogey and a par through the first 2 holes. When we got to the last hole of the course, a par 3, A had enough of my inadequacies, and was refusing to take my advice on clubs to use, distances to hit, with wind factored in, and putt reads. A hit first and missed the green completely, then slammed his club into the turf and left a large mark on the tee box. When A reached the green in 3 shots, his partner was putting for birdie. After taking my putt read, his partner sunk his birdie and ultimately was in position to win the match. If A made his putt, he would tie the match. So, at this point, A looks at me and barks at me to give him a putt read. So, I looked at him and informed him about my 3 priorities and how I would have to fix the mark he made from slamming his club before I could read his putt. And that since I am such a poor caddy, he would be better off reading the putt himself. As I turned to walk 145 yards back to the tee box to fix the grass, which I purposely did not fix, I heard him angrily yell about how he missed the putt and lost the match. After the round, he followed me to my boss's office, where he complained for about 10 minutes about my work and how he shouldn't have to pay for my 3 hours of labour. My boss heard his argument and asked me what happened, and I said, He accused me of being a poor caddy for maintaining the course and missing one putt read on the first hole. Then, he slammed his iron into the last tee box and created the deepest divot I have ever seen. After denying this, the three of us took a ride to the 18th tee to examine the damage, which was still fresh and deep. Immediately, my boss looked at A and told him to get off the property and informed him that he would be permanently blacklisted. He was also forced to pay me right there on the spot. That actually sounds like quite a nice job to have, apart from the snobby people that play golf. Well, there's some snobby people, but you know what I mean. But being outside all the time, yeah, that sounds quite nice. Want me to pick up a shift despite my doctor's note? Sure. This happened about 15 years ago. I was working as a server in a chain restaurant during the summer while I was home from college. I had gone to a party one night, gotten hammered, and wound up passing out near the bonfire in the brush by a tree line of this big field. I woke up the next morning feeling pretty rough, and gradually saw large patches of poison ivy popping up all over my body. By the end of the day, it was absolutely horrendous, head to toe, and I realized I had slept in a patch of poison ivy. I could barely move. I went to the doctor, who put me on steroids and bed rest. I was scheduled to work the next day and called my supervisor to let him know that aside from not being able to move my limbs because of the swelling, itching and pain, I looked awful and should not be serving food to customers. He was a prick about it, asked me questions trying to poke holes in my story, and then demanded a doctor's note. I called my doctor and had one sent to him. The note cleared me from work for at least a week. A few days later, I get a call from my manager. They are slammed on a busy weekend night and need me to come in. I remind him that I have a doctor's note. It hasn't been a week, and while I'm feeling better, I am covered in oozing sores. He tells me, "You've had long enough. Come in now or you'll be fired." Fine. I put on my shorts, my polo shirt with company logo, name tag, and apron and head to the restaurant. I get to the hostess stand, and everyone around me stares at my skin with their jaws dropped. I tell the hostess I was called into work and would like to check with the manager about where my section will be. She tells me he is in the party room helping out with a very large group and that I probably shouldn't go in there. She offers to go get him and tries to get me to move to a more conspicuous place. No, I insisted. I was told that I would be fired if I didn't come into work today. I walked straight back to the party room, tapped my manager on the shoulder, and cheerily said, "Hi manager, I'm here for my shift. How can I help you?" His eyes opened wide in horror and he told me immediately to go back home. I loudly protested that I was feeling better, that my sores weren't that bad, and that I was worried about being fired. Like he told me on the phone. He told me to go home, which I did. This was not the first incident where the manager was an absolute prick, and I called to quit the morning of the next legitimate shift I was scheduled for, after the poison ivy cleared up. That must have been so painful. Like imagine sleeping an entire night on poison ivy and just waking up in the morning and just being like this, like you just paralyzed the entire body. Oh. It's hard to fudge production stats when production drops. This happened in the late 1990s. I was working afternoon shift at a fab shop, and fab isn't short for fabulous, it's short for fabrication. It was a machine shop that turned raw materials into various parts for clients. The only reason I was there is because there was one other guy running a very high-tech 3D milling machine making some intricate stuff. This machine was generating great value for the company, which is why they had it running for 16 hours a day. Only problem was that you couldn't have one guy working in the shop alone, as it was unsafe. So they stuck me on afternoon shift working a surface grinder. Here's one on screen right now. One of 5 of them in the shop. This is a really simple machine to run. You pretty much place a part on a big magnet, then set the parameters for the grinding passes, and let it do its thing. It's designed to slowly grind a part to a specific thickness. It was boring. The other guy was way on the opposite side of the shop, so there was nobody to talk with. The machine took 30 to 45 minutes to run a part, and then I would remove it, tap a couple of holes, and bolt another 2 parts to it. All told, maybe an hour. So, I decided, since this is so damn boring, to run all the surface grinders at the same time. I worked out a pretty good little assembly line and was cranking out somewhere around 35 to 40 parts per shift. The day crew were lazy people, and basically would put a part on and watch the machine run. Then they would remove the part, tap and assemble, then load another part into the machine and start over. So the machine was empty for the tapping and assembly stage. The way I did it, I would remove the part, load another into the grinder, press go, and then tap and assemble. This way, while I was tapping and assembling the first part, the machine was grinding away at the second. Save time. One day, I went to the lead hand at his desk and explained how my way would kick production up. He basically shut me down and told me I was just a rookie and that I didn't know what I was talking about. Told me, "You're a machine operator. This is my job, not yours." Here's the thing. While I was talking, he had his logbook open on his desk. I saw the production numbers for each of us surface grinder operators, and they were something like 12 to 14 pieces per shift for each of us, including me. Those day guys would be lucky if they could pump out 1 an hour, or 8 per shift. So, as I'm busting my butt and cranking out parts, and these guys are getting credit for them. Fine, no more. I went back to operating 1 machine, and I targeted for 10 parts per shift. That's it. It only took a couple of days for production to notice a drop-off, and when I arrived for my shift, I was greeted by the lead hand and brought to a meeting with a few neckties. Working afternoons, I had no idea who they were. They demanded to know why production has dropped, and it was apparent that lead had tried to throw me under the bus. I explained in great detail how I was running 5 machines at once and tightening up the process. Then I told him how many parts I was cranking out and how lead fudges the numbers so that it appeared that each operator was generating roughly equal numbers. I also told them that I had gotten shut down by lead and told I was just a rookie machine operator. I looked at lead across the table and said, "If I'm a machine operator, then I am a machine operator. I'm not a machines operator. You want more than 1 machine to run? Hire more than 1 operator." I was excused from the meeting, which went on for quite a while. Afterward, lead came out with red in his eyes, and we got into a heck of an argument, which ended with me telling him to shove it and walking out the door. I found out later, from one of the day shift guys, that they had contracted the production run with a very strict delivery window that was rapidly closing. There wasn't enough time to bring in new guys and train them, so they pushed day shift into working overtime and weekends, so their margins went into the gutter, and they still didn't make the delivery deadline. Lead hand used the same door I did a few weeks later, but I used it because I chose to. He didn't have a choice. So stupid, people like that, like the neckties, they could have easily gone, "Oh, you know what? This guy's right. We're gonna take this guy and promote him or something because he's being really productive." But no, they were like, "Ah, yeah, you're excused from the meeting," and then they lost a proactive employee. It's just pathetic from these guys. The tyres are clean, Sarge. Years ago, I'm in the army, a young private fresh out of basic training and assigned to my first post along with a few of my buddies. A newly promoted E6 Staff Sergeant was assigned our squad leader, and he made our lives a living hell. He was not an intelligent man, a poor leader, and was intoxicated with his new power. Fast forward to 3 months later, our unit was facing an upcoming RTEP, an Army Training Evaluation Program, and life was a frantic series of cleaning equipment before the big inspection. Our squad leader, Sergeant W, was assigned the task of ensuring the platoon's jeeps, yeah, this was years ago, were spit shined and able to pass inspection. We had 4 jeeps. Sergeant W calls us together and tells us we better have the jeeps squared away or else. We hustled down to the motor pool and spent the morning pressure washing the jeeps and even using Q-tips in cleaning grime out of every crevice. By the time we were finished, those jeeps were spotless. After lunch, Sergeant W shows up to the motor pool and conducts his own inspection. He proceeded to ridicule our work for several minutes while we stood at parade rest in angry silence. Finally, one of my buddies raised his hand. "Sergeant W, could you at least tell us what needs to be done to meet your standards?" Sergeant W goes off. After another minute of ranting, he tells us we could not go anywhere until we fixed this stuff, and left. At this point, all we are doing is wiping down the jeeps and cleaning off dirt that did not exist. It wasn't until well after dark until Sergeant W came back and conducted another inspection. In the dark, without a flashlight. He finally stated the tyres were dirty and we were to clean them. "Just like those tyres on your POVs, personally owned vehicles." He then stomped off, vowing to make our lives hell for inconveniencing him. We'd had enough. One of us went back to our barracks room and retrieved a spray bottle of tyre cleaner, the kind that leaves the tyres clean and shiny. No, never have anything shiny on a combat vehicle. Sergeant W came back at midnight and once again gave a cursory inspection in the dark before dismissing us. The RTEP inspection of the jeeps took place first thing in the morning. Imagine the CO's, commanding officer's, reaction when he saw the shiny tyres on the jeeps. He went ballistic. All of us paid the price, but it was worth it because Sergeant W was punished along with us. They actually used Q-tips to clean it. Like, that guy must have had a stick up his butt to be able to call them out on using Q-tips, like, "Oh, this isn't clean," even though they've cleaned I would hate that. Hey everyone, I hope you all had a really good day and that you enjoyed that video. If you want to check out some other videos, then click on screen right now, or check out the playlist down below. If you enjoyed that video, then please do leave a like, and if you want to submit your own stories, then you can do so by joining the Discord in the top link in the description. But thank you so much for watching, and I will see you very soon.